Now, one of the amazing things about Jim Rouse is that he doesn't believe in, or he didn't believe, Jim passed away a few years ago. He didn't believe in inherited wealth. And he didn't want to pass on his fortune to his children. He wanted his children to have to do the kind of things he did. Jim, early on in his career, parked cars in downtown Baltimore. He was from a very modest upbringing. So rather than passing his fortune on to his children, he formed a sister corporation to the Rouse Development Company called the Enterprise Development Company. And that's where Bart Harvey, my friend, worked. Bart was the head of the Enterprise Development Company. And the goal of Enterprise was to provide affordable housing for everybody in America. Modest goal. And they went about it in very intelligent ways. They didn't give money away outright. They gave incentives. They provided financing to other entities that were working in this area. They became kind of an umbrella organization. They put on conferences. They provided encouragements to others that were working in this area. After that initial meeting with Jim, I had another meeting, and Jim agreed to put up $5,000 to get One World Incorporated off the ground. And through a friend of Bart Harvey, we did the legal work necessary to get nonprofit status. And we worked for a few years. I was back in California now, working and living out of those offices down there. We put on fundraisers for homeless people, bike-a-thons called Two Wheels for One World, and benefit concerts called Nobody Nights, featuring the Bay Area's best unknown talent, singers, songwriters, and others who didn't have a big reputation, but we would put a fair amount of promotion into the event and put on a benefit concert. The amount of money we raised in the scheme of things wasn't very significant, but we had a great time, and we donated some fairly significant sums to homeless shelters here in the Bay Area. But after a while, I could start to see that this really wasn't having much of an impact on the world. And an Earth Day event that we put on down at Stanford called the Earth Day Fund Run got a fair amount of attention. We got several thousand people in the Frost Amphitheater, and I decided that we needed some kind of a statement to bring it all together and what it was about. So I wrote something called the Earth Pledge. And the words are very simple. I pledge to protect the Earth and respect the web of life upon it, and to honor the dignity of every member of our global family. One planet, one people, one world, in harmony, with peace, justice, and freedom for all. So we promoted this in a big way in conjunction with the 25th anniversary of Earth Day in 1990, I believe it was. Is that right? I think the first anniversary, maybe it was in 1995, it must have been. We did a joint venture. I had some savings. Did a joint venture with Portal Publications based in Corte Madera, and we had 10,000 posters printed up with the words to that. And we distributed those posters to environmental groups and to schools all over the country. and included with it a book that I had written called the Earth Pledge book, which had simple steps, things that people can do to honor the earth. It was a wild time, a wonderful time, but after a while you start to realize that what you're doing is just a little blip, because the forces arrayed against what you and other environmentalists are doing are so powerful that they can't be ignored. I discovered this in a kind of a unfortunate way. When I was at Harvard as an undergraduate, Al Gore was in the same house that I lived in, Dunster House. And he was now Vice President of the United States. And he had written the book, Earth in the Balance. And he seemed to be a natural ally for the Earth Pledge. Not so. I contacted him, and he got back to me and said, "I'm sorry, John, I can't touch this." And the reason was that the Earth Pledge at the end had the words "one world" in it. And one world in political circles, unbeknownst to me, was code for some kind of ominous, overarching shadow, a shadow government. This wasn't anything like what we imagined or intended, but in the rarefied world of politics, where fear dominates and where anybody can be subject to all kinds of smear campaigns that distort their record and what they're all about, Al couldn't touch this. That's kind of what we're up against in the deception machine. This week I went to hear John Kerry, who was speaking here in Marin, and he talked about his losing campaign for president and how his war record had been smeared. And I will share a brief clip of that video right now, because it goes to the heart of what Truth Sphere is all about.